cover page of the budget. The first two lines are actually audited information. The middle line is the preliminary budget that we adopted about this time last year. We revised the budget at Christmas time. Next to the right-hand column is the actual year-to-date, what our general ledgers say we spent as of May 1. We, of course, computed it yesterday for June 1, and the numbers are actually better than we had in the right-hand column. If we were going to revise the budget 2 weeks ago, we would have recommended that we adopt a budget that shows $21,861,000 in revenue, $21,831,000 in expenditures, with a very narrow operating surplus of pennies, really, $30,000. You've seen this slide before. This is the long-term history of revenues and expenditures of the district. Originally, I went back to 2001, quite honestly, because those were the audits that were in our file and not tucked away in storage. But this is about when the district really started consuming equity. You can see that that number is larger than that number. $470,000 of fund equity was spent in 2000-2001. Had a modest surplus of a similar amount the next year, and then it was negative, 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 negative. And then we got to last year, it was $204,000. And there is the $30,000 that I showed you on that first slide. If we were to do that now, we've got better estimates of how much money we saved in our partnership with Washburn School District. We're going to have at least another $100,000 here. That cooperation saved us. We spent about $1.2 million last year. We think we're going to spend somewhere in the $800,000 amount this year, providing virtually the same service kits. This is a new one. The old revenue and expenditure stopped right there, the previous slide. We decided to go back, once we got the new budget, we decided to go back and see what this year's numbers look like during the entire history of Proposal A. 1994 was the last year of Bursley. That's the first year of Proposal A. You can see that revenues went up, as they did for virtually every school district in the state that first year, and they've been kind of up and down until this is where the 2000-2001. We had kind of a little fun in the office by covering up what this slide was supposed to show and say, what's this say to you folks who don't usually deal in graphs? And everybody can say, well, holy shoot, is that a problem? But I draw your attention to that, and we're going to get it up to here for this year. So we're going back in the right direction. We are managing this deficit. And we're going to continue managing it. These are the kind of the flip side of that previous slide, and this is the foundation grant history of the Little Run Community Schools since the year before, the last year of Bursley, and this is the first year of Proposal A. As Mr. Rutledge did, I showed the actual dollars, which is this blue line. You can see it doesn't really climb too much. It kind of struggles to get up. The last 4 years, it's actually declined. Those are real dollar declines, as you can see up here. In fact, if you read the footnote, you'll see that that number, and that number is really a function of that number less 165. That number is that number less 170, and that number is that number less $470. If you equate that to real dollars, if you take the consumer price index and you equate these real dollars to a constant dollar, these are $1982, you can see that this is not only flat, it actually declines here. The real buying power of what we're going to have next year is never been that low, even before Proposal A. That's what you got last year, Bursley, in real buying power. That's $400 less. That's about 12% less buying power this year than the year before it last got fixed. Something wrong with that? You read across the line, it increased, the buying power increased, and then we get where the recession of 2002, Mr. Dillon says that we really haven't, I'm sorry, Mr. Nixon was the one who was quoted as saying Michigan really never recovered from the recession here. You can kind of see those numbers. You had the same grant. Of course, the buying power declined, decreased because of inflation. A little bit of a bump up. That was the last time we got an increase. Decline. This number, real dollars, 73.70, you have to go way back to 2006 to have the same number of dollars. As I showed you before, we've never had that little money in actual buying power. Well, that number, as I said, is 2009, that's 470. We jumped through a whole bunch. One thing that Mr. Rutledge didn't point out to you is the two $100s that we might get. We probably will get one of the $100s. We jump through all those hoops, we might get the other. But regardless, that's only 1 year. They've reduced the foundation grant permanently by that amount of money. And they're adding back a little bit, maybe, if we jump through the right hoops. Now, if we get both of the $100 back, then that 470 is really only 270. Magic of electronics. We still have never had that little money since it got fixed last. The buying power, even if we jump through the hoops and get this one-time $200, we still have never had that little buying power. This is the problem. This is the problem. This is just kind of a reconfiguration of that last column. What I'm supposed to show in this presentation is if we were to amend the budget and show that $30,000 very modest operating surplus, and this is very real, we'll be able to do this. We're going to do quite a bit better than this, actually. But just taking that as a model and saying if everything were the same, had the same people working for us, we paid them the same, all their benefits cost the same, everything costs the same, what would it look like when we put in all the changes that we have to deal with? And I hope this shows. There is beginning fund balance. Is that as of June 30, 2010, a year ago. That much in revenue, that much in expenditure. We add that much to the negative fund balance. So it used to be a minus 2.8, and when we started it was 3.2, 3.1. Now it's minus 2.8. It goes to only minus 2.7. So that's 2.7. We got the same revenues, same 21.8. We had the reason that one of the reasons that we didn't really crash, wasn't worse than it was, that there was a lot of federal money. Part of the economic recovery, the Obama economic recovery, came to public schools. We got about $1.7 million in federal money last year and this year. Problem is, we're not going to get it next year. So that really saved us for 2 years. But a whole bunch of Republicans went to Washington too, I think. So I read that correctly. Part of the fluidity of this is how we're going to manage a deferred revenue. I talked about deferred revenues before. Really kind of discretionary, if we're going to use that accounting adjustment this year or next year, how much. And in this presentation, $300,000 is the approximate amount that we use this year, and the amount that we're going to have left next year reduces the deferred revenue potential by $300,000. This is the governor's budget. They added $300 to the reduction. Thinking back in 8th grade algebra, we're talking about adding negative numbers. So this year's deduct was $170. Next year's deduct reduction is going to be $470, an increase of $300. Well, the 170 is already in that. We're already out of that, as it were. So to make this really accurate, that can only be $300